Seven did it again.
Night and day, I'm away. Can't complain, I get paid. But either way, the skies are grey. Get the bag, leave no trace. I know that you don't see me lately, I'm hardly getting sleep. Diamonds in my vision, I know diamonds make you weak. You call my phone, but I'm back on D&D. No going home, made a home inside the street. Let's raise our glass and make a toast. The crown is heavy, not as heavy as my big ego. I was sitting in the trap, writing every goal. Fell in love with these pinkies, I'll never let you go. Marry the money, I say my bye. I blow the whistle, you're moving fast. Give me your trust, I won't let you down. Been through hella bricks, tryna build a house. Night and day, I'm away. Can't complain, I get paid. But either way, the skies are grey. Get the bag, leave no trace. Night and day, I'm away. Can't complain, I get paid. But either way, the skies are grey. Get the bag, leave no trace.
I was reckless when I said I loved you, but kept it real. My nigga reckless in the field, he still keep it still. We try to show him different ways, but he just lost the drill. And I'm just baked off with a baddie trying to make a meal. I left her later on the bed and then I went to kill a show. You know it's hard to take you everywhere and niggas got to go. I'm trying to put these diamonds on my wrist and let these fuckers glow. The biggest haters come from niggas in your inner circle. The life I'm trying to lead will have my son so what a touch from being in the streets. Me and your mother manifest till it's a living dream. Keep kicking down the fucking door until they let me in. Promised my mother I won't do it, then I did again. I went to sin again. No further action on the case, I sent FA again. My father thinks I went to uni, but I paid the rent. I know my parents will be proud when I'm a millionaire.
Night and day, I'm away. Can't complain, I get paid. But either way, the skies are grey. Get the bag, leave no trace. Night and day, I'm away. Can't complain, I get paid. But either way, the skies are grey. Get the bag, leave no trace.
I'm thinking outside of the blocks, crib outside of the blocks. Diamond on my lady's finger, got her outside with a rock. Money, power and respect, you think I'm outside with the locks. Don't let your ego life you off or have you outside in a box. No, you know streets are so cold. When your ego's involved, you can't bend, you can't fold. You go hard or go home, can't rely on no soul. You just firm it alone, I know life takes its toll. Everyone's got a story, when they talk is pain relief. When you're young you love the roads, you get old you hate the streets. And everybody act real, find out it's make believe. You can't always take the dub, gotta learn how to take defeat. I pray if I get rich, they don't do me like Rico. Gotta keep that circle tight, just couple of amigos. Don't talk till the job's done, yeah you know that G code. But I'll reason with Bobby though, cause I got a big ego.
Night and day, I'm away. Can't complain, I get paid. But either way, the skies are grey. Get the bag, leave no trace. Night and day, I'm away. Can't complain, I get paid. But either way, the skies are grey. Get the bag, leave no trace.
Welcome to another episode of Big Ego Media. I got a special guest goes by the name of George. How are you today, man?
Bless man. Yeah. Good day.
So you've got a very interesting story, right? We grew up in the same neck of the hood. Neck of the hood, not neck of the woods, but I guess neck of the hood, I guess, right? So you grew up in Peckham as well. I mean, you got an incredible story, and what you're doing and achieving right now is something that I haven't seen anyone else do. It's a different lane. It's a lane that many of us coming from the culture haven't gone through. So we're going to need you to school us on this, but at the same time, let's go back from the very get-go and let us know where you're from. Where did you grow up?
Yeah, so as you said, grew up in Peckham. That's kind of all I've ever known in terms of where I've lived. So it was my mum, older brother Kenny, and yeah, we were surrounded by all the vices that you were, surrounded by, right? We saw it all, and kind of for me, one of my outlets was definitely fixing bikes. So I kind of just started off doing all of that, and that was because the bike shops were just mad expensive. So it was a good chance to just fix other people's bikes, ride in Peckham car park before it was Peckham levels, and just have a good time. Then I went from that to go-karting in Burgess Park.
We're moving too quick. We're moving too quick. I mean, growing up in Peckham, so did you say you got with your mum and your brother?
Yeah, mum and brother, yeah.
So dad didn't play a part?
No, dad was definitely there, but he was always in Nigeria.
Okay.
So yeah, it wasn't like as active as it could have been, but it's just distance, isn't it?
Yeah. What difference do you think that made then in regards to you and your brother's life, like not having that father figure in the household all the time?
Yeah, I think, I always say 2 hands on the steering wheel are better than one. You know what I mean? Like, it's always great to basically be able to have one. But my mum was dope, like she managed to still handle it. And I think me and my brother are doing great now. So if anything, for me, I never saw it as an excuse. There's a lot of barriers and a lot of challenges, of course, that come with it. But for me, it was more like, because I didn't necessarily have that close by, I kind of had a bigger purpose to figure out, okay, cool, what does it mean to be a man? What does it mean to, come from Peckham and do well, like actually leave the hood? So I think it was me trying to get that guidance from as many places as you can. And obviously you start off trying to find that from elders and everything else, but eventually I kind of got mentors and different people that kind of showed me other ways. But I think even the elders and so forth, I had a lot of positive people around that never necessarily wanted me to do a particular thing. They just wanted me to do well. Whereas I think some elders are more like coercing people to do a particular thing. That wasn't kind of what happened to me. But that might be because I was one of the youngest people kind of there in the batch at the time. So it was kind of like, we just want you to do well. Don't do what we did.
I mean, growing up in Peckham though, you would have seen all kind of the violence, the gangs, and like I said, just in and around it. What was the main thing that you didn't really get fully involved?
I think similar to you, I think you probably said it like many times before, I always had a little bit of a conscience, right? It was like, look, there's a lot of things going on, there's people doing any and everything, and for me it was about not getting, like, the number one thing was, if that's my guy, that's my guy, you know what I mean? Like, and trust for me is super important, being reliable is super important, like that hasn't changed. So I think I was always focused on making sure I'm there for my people, but besides that, everything else I just thought was peer pressure and all of that stuff, and then eventually I learned to kind of not let that deter me, so I was able to make my changes pretty early. But I think it got a lot of people, but for me I didn't have to get too active in everything. Don't get me wrong, I was around so much of it, but I didn't have to go as deep. I was able to make my transition by probably 14 or so, where a lot of people, it's into their 20s or so that wasn't the case for me. So yeah.
I mean, what was the ambition growing up though? What did you want to be?
I think growing up, I didn't have like a particular job in my mind. I think when I was fixing bikes, it kind of went from there to me saying, okay, potentially I'll do motor mechanics at GCSE. And then I also saw an engineering GCSE. Then I was kind of toying between both of these. Mechanics seemed to make a bit more sense. Went with engineering because my brother said, hey, that will probably be it'll be a better option to open up more doors for me, right? And academically, I didn't think I was ever the greatest, but I could probably do something because the course seemed a bit practical. So
I mean, to do engineering, you have to be pretty intelligent.
No, not at GCSE level. Like at GCSE level, they don't really know who's who, especially when you're like 14, 15, just choosing your options. The truth is, I hadn't had any good grades up until that point. I just had a good relationship with some teachers, and that was about it. You know what I mean? That's probably the only reason why I didn't get kicked out or anything like that. I wasn't a nuisance, but you know what I mean? You just bring a certain attitude to the class. But I think I always had a good relationship, so that's kind of how I got through. But engineering, I think so many people around me did it. But yeah, we were all pretty average, to be fair.
I mean, who was your kind of early role models?
I think my brother was definitely one. Kenny was definitely one. You obviously had gigs, all of that, and all of the elders around that, they were basically people that I saw a lot. So I could kind of listen to the music, all of that. You identify with the pain, right? Like that same struggle that they've gone through, you're going through it now. So I think at that point, those are like my big ones. But there's just so many different elders that I could kind of look up to when I was very young. I think when I got a little bit older, the world became, my oyster, and I could see everyone. But I think early on, it was kind of like, just the people right next to me, next door neighbors, my brother, everyone like that.
I mean, not to dwell too much onto to make this in regards to, because you got a brilliant story. But in regards to, I guess, your brother, he was kind of one person that also kind of got involved heavily in that lifestyle. When you kind of saw that, because similar with me, when my brother was doing that, it kind of pushed me to that side as well. What was it about him that you didn't follow in full pursuit?
I think so. My brother, he's been amazing in the sense that he's always wanted me to be better than him.
Yeah.
And he said that to me. You know what I mean? So if your brother says that to you at that point, and I know he meant it, so at that point it was almost like, okay, I'm going to see everything you're doing, but I'm going to learn how can I do it better. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to do GCSEs, how can I do it better? You're going to do A-levels, how can I do it better? You're going to navigate this kind of whole jungle of Peckham, how can I do it better? You know what I mean? And that was literally my approach for every single thing. So if anything, it didn't like necessarily lead me in that way, because the whole environment will suck you into that anyway. So if anything, I kind of just learned, got a case study. He's 4 years older than me. Then it was like, okay, cool. That was dope what he did there, but maybe that's an area that we could also improve. Then I just made sure I did that instead. Like, he got one scholarship. I heard of scholarships, and I was like, damn, let me apply for some scholarships as well. Then I ended up getting over 6. You know what I mean? So it was like, every single time I'm trying to do better than him, but he wants me to do that, because that's the only way you level up, right? And everyone around you does the same. So if anything, he just inspired me. It just, nothing, you just have to take the good with the bad, right?
No, 100%. And like I said, not to dwell on it, but at one moment you could have lost him to the system for a long time. At that point, how did the family feel? How did you feel at the time? And how relieved was you guys that it didn't go to that full extent?
So when I was 14, I guess my brother was forcibly imprisoned. And at that point, it was like, you can imagine that there's so many different things going through your head, right? But for me, it probably did the opposite that it does to most people. At first, it was like a lack of no hope. But at the same time, I was like, he should be able to come out of this, because there's literally nothing there for him to kind of, be there with. He was actually with me at the GP, on the same day that they're saying everything happened. So it couldn't be possible, right? So I think from that perspective, it was like, I knew we would kind of be able to overcome it, but you don't know how the system is going to treat everything, right? So it was kind of just patiently waiting, but also using that as my motivation. Every single time I used to go and see him in Feltham and come back, it was like, my mum didn't come from Nigeria to here for no reason. Like, we need to make sure we actually make the most out of this, right? So
what was mum saying at the time?
Mum was just prayerful, like, I'm a believer in Christ, so that was like a big thing. And I think that only came later, but like, that was what she was holding on to. I mean, the kind of faith that she had, I've never seen it in my life. Like, it was more like, when are you coming out? Like, she was so expectant that he was coming out, it wasn't even a question. That's why he did his A-levels in prison, because my mum was like, look, you're coming out of here, so you might as well just do your A-levels in prison. And he was one of the first people to do his A-levels there in Feltham, and I guess he made history by doing that, right? But it also kind of gave him hope that this is not the end of the road. Then he kind of kept on pushing on that front. But I think my mum was super supportive. Not everyone around us was supportive. Some people see a headline, a story, and they think, he's written off, you know what I mean, he's down bad. But I think we just kept up the faith, and I used that pain, turn it into something purposeful. I started jogging, I started studying harder. I just went harder throughout, and then there was basically no stopping at that point. And when he came out, it just kind of went even further.
I mean, like I said, we're gonna get into this. So obviously GCSEs, you must have passed with flying colours. What school did you go to, by the way?
Went to Kingsdale. Kingsdale Foundation School at the time, but very different school to what it is now. And I'm sure back in the days, like super different to what it was then as well.
Oh, definitely, most definitely. I can talk about the most horrific people of Peckham who went to Kingsdale. But I mean, there was such a transition in your life then, like, I mean, to get to where you are, which some people who are watching this right now ain't got a clue, but we're going to tell them. So, you went to college. What did you study at college?
So, at college, I studied maths, biology, chemistry, physics. The thing is, though, don't think I did that because I was sick at it. It was more a case of everything that I did, it was willing my way through the whole process.
But you're putting it down, but to pick, I think you said physics,
biology,
what else? Maths and what else?
Yeah, and chemistry.
I mean, come on, like
no,
no small boys doing that.
Yeah, no. I think, but that's also the problem. Because you do that at GCSE. So why can't you do it at A levels? You get what I mean? It's because someone's told you that you shouldn't be doing that and you should be doing something else.
Do you think people are put off by it?
People are put off by it, and I guess the people that we have around us, role models, are mostly going into other industry, whether it's the arts, entertainment, and so you think STEM, science, it's probably not for me. It's not for us. You know what I mean? But that's the biggest lie anyone can tell you, because I know some people that are building amazing companies in tech. They're just like me. You know what I mean? I'm Nigerian. They're Ghanaian. Like, we're all doing the same thing. So I feel like that's a lie that we've been told that we need to reclaim.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then it was uni?
Yeah. So once I did all those A levels, didn't do too well in my first year of that, and then second year I did well. I got 3 A's by the end after making some adjustments. Then uni, mechanical engineering with programming at UCL. So University College London.
This guy's putting it down. 3 A levels and gone to UCL. Like, come on, that's a big boy uni there, you know.
Yeah, no. It's like for me, it was almost like I'm either gonna go for the best or I'm just gonna take a gap year.
See, something that a lot of people don't know about me is that I was actually a to be fair, I can't call it a lecturer, but I was a lecturer in quote at UCL. So basically, kind of. So when I came out of jail, I was doing all my things, and then they wanted to do a study in the Hackney Wick area.
Yeah.
So they wanted to have the local people of Hackney Wick to come and sort of tutor some of the youths who were coming from abroad.
Yeah.
So you got the summer camps, so you had a lot of sort of Chinese kids, German kids, all coming. Looking to go to UCL for the first year. So I was in charge of kind of looking after them and then doing lecture on the social economy of the Hackney Wick area. And they even gave me my own ID card. So I used to I put it on Instagram and say, look at this. I come out jail and I got UCL lecturer on there. So that was linking it back to you. I'm a little bit intelligent as well.
That's dope.
Nah, joking. But so you've done that, but before that you had that other things happening when you're doing uni, right?
Yeah.
So I know you talked about getting these scholarships. Talk to us about that.
Yeah. So essentially, when my brother was acquitted halfway through the trial, and he kind of came out November 2012, and bear in mind, those times was when 2010, 2011, that's when everything was going on. So
crazy.
It was a crazy season. So everything was slightly kind of a bit up in the air in terms of what he was going to do next. But one of the things that he wanted to do was essentially go to uni. That's what he wanted to do beforehand, and they basically derailed that plan. But he came out, then fortunately for him, he managed to get a scholarship at a law school called BPP. Then it was at full tuition, so they covered that whole 27 grand. And I was like, if someone's gonna pay 27 grand for you, like surely, like, and I think it was my mum actually that was like, look, if he can get it, you're next. But for a lot of African parents and that's like a typical saying, like you're next, like go and do it, right, and go and work hard. So, but for me, I said, nah, I actually want that. So that's what made me work hard and will my way through the GCSEs. Not because I thought, I'm smart at all of this, but it's because I said, when my brother came out, if I can get a scholarship from Southwark, and Southwark was essentially doing scholarships where they cover your whole tuition, so they were going to give me 36k for 4 years to study at uni. I said, this is a no-brainer. No one on the ends is going to give me 36 grand. No one has 36 grand, so I'm going to go for it, right? And then that was my motivation at GCSEs, at A level, and then I guess once I got to uni, I had one scholarship, And then because I took part in some programs just before uni, I was eligible for some others. So by that time I had 3. Then during uni, I realized you can also still apply for scholarships. And then that's when I started saying, you know what, I'm going to rack up as much as I can just so that I can alleviate all this financial pressure that I know I'm going to have. You know, you have to contribute to the rent, you have to live your life in general, you've got a partner, you've got different things, right? So for me, it was like, let me get all of that so that I can just serve my community and do my studies. Like, that was it. I didn't want a part-time job that would be a little bit of a distraction, right? So I got a scholarship from the Royal Academy of Engineering. I got a scholarship from the Helena Kennedy Foundation and a few others at Amos Bursary, and that basically not only provided finances but also a support network of people that were on what I was on as well.
I mean, you say this as well, is that many people don't even know about scholarships, and these are readily available everywhere.
I didn't know about scholarships until my brother probably got the scholarship, right? And the good thing is that wasn't that late, right? I was in like year 9, you know, kind of / year 10, so it was kind of okay, but a lot of people still don't know about it. You know, I go to schools, I was at a school today, I asked them if they know what a scholarship is. Only a few hands would come up. I think everyone should know about it, because the truth is most of us have grown up in a single parent household, money is a bit tight. There's probably opportunities for you to be able to do it, especially if you're able to work for it. And I was able to do that, so yeah. They're like no-brainer. People need to know about scholarships.
So it came to be, right, and we're going to get to it, but it came to be that this year you was named Young Engineer of the Year nationally. That is crazy. Yeah. But how was that journey? Before that, we'll give you a round of applause. Like, that's crazy. Yeah.
I love for that,
but
man.
How did you get there?
So for me, one of the biggest things I was saying was racking up as much scholarships as possible so that I can serve the community. So literally as soon as I was going into uni, literally just before my first year, when I knew I was able to, you know, do everything at UCL, I said, cool. People keep asking this question, what's the motive? My co-founder came to me, Peckham Burger King, and you know, I said, we just literally sat down. People keep asking what's the motive? How can we answer this question? Literally, but it was like, there's already Shubs.com. You know Shubs.com? Yeah. You know, literally, there's already that. There's so many other things, but there's events that we're now going to that no one has ever told us about. These networking events where, you know, people want to become pilots, people want to become engineers, people want to become, you know, guitar players.
So your motive is like, yo, it's going down, meet us at the club tonight. So different levels.
Yeah, completely different levels, right? So we were like, what happens if we spin it on its head and say that those are motives, but also include all of these things that's actually going to help you and help you explore your interests. So at that point in 2015, we literally created an app that allowed you to explore your interest this week, next week, and upcoming. Like, that was literally, and that helped you explore anything from arts, business, entrepreneurship, tech, marketing. We even had a little bit of nightlife on there as well. And then eventually, what we realized was that this is great that there's a platform, a few thousand people are able to kind of access it, but when it comes to these events, they still don't feel like they belong in those environments. You can give a person a platform, but it's like, if they don't believe they belong on that platform, they're not going to go on the stage. You know what I mean? So we realized that we needed to actually help them to get on the stage. So then we started delivering programs, and that's what we were recognized for. So far, we've impacted over 8,000 young people to actually get STEM jobs, so jobs in science, tech, engineering, and maths. And it was literally that whole journey where we're running grassroots programs in schools. We literally just finished a program in Peckham Academy called Prosper in Peckham, which was essentially taking 60 young people and making them into young green leaders. Employability work, where we're actually working with their CVs, cover letters, interviews, and now we've got a program just launching called Rebuild, where we're helping people that are not in education, training, or employment to actually get access to people that are killing it in their fields, that have been there and done it, to support them through the process as well. So we're recognized for that. And then last but not least, the work that I'm doing with Lewis Hamilton now. So I joined the board of the Hamilton Commission back in 2020, and so just when I graduated, and then eventually after that I joined his race team, Team X44.
I mean, you're skipping. How did it even happen for you to join the board and for you to join the team? We need to get to the intricacies.
Yeah.
Before you continue,
it's because you asked me what I was recognised for. And it's all of these things.
But before you continue, we're going to scrap that Peckham Academy. It's Warwick Park. It's Warwick Park. The school was Warwick Park. It will forever be known as Warwick Park. I don't know no Peckham Academy.
Look, when someone told me Warwick Park, I was like, yeah, we are in a different generation.
But continue, man. How did the Lewis Hamilton thing happen?
Yeah, so essentially when I was go-karting in Aylesbury, that closed down, and I was like, look, if I can't be in the car and race, then I'll be outside of the car and essentially build it. And that was my motivation. That's what I say all the time. And then from that point, it was like I studied engineering at GCSE, started doing engineering at uni, and then at that point when I was in uni, I could now start, there's something called Formula Student. So if you're interested in motorsport, you can do something called Formula Student, where you essentially build a car, race against other universities. It's like a Formula 1 car, probably half the size, race against other universities. You know Silverstone?
Yeah.
So you race in Silverstone, Northampton, and that's one day. So you design, test, build, and literally that is kind of a gateway for most people to go into motorsport, like Formula 1. So that was the first thing I did in my first year, second year, but I tried in my third year now, and I was rejected. And I was like, what am I being, like, I was probably one of the first people that signed up to do this Formula Student thing as like a first year student. But I realized that some of those people were fixing classic cars. I was fixing bikes, you know what I mean? I didn't have access to all of that stuff, and I didn't know too much about cars, if I'm being honest. I was learning on the go. So I tried to not be too bitter, you know what I mean? And I decided to take up another project with Rolls-Royce, and then I redesigned the component within their engine, made it essentially more aerodynamic, improved the efficiency on it by 40%, and then saved them £50 million
So hang on,
through redesigning that.
Stop right there, right? You as a student worked for big Rolls-Royce, right? And you redesigned something that improved them and saved them $50 million. Where's the money, bro? They should have said, yo, big man, slap a 10%, slap a 1%.
Yeah, even 1%.
Yeah. So what, I mean, how did it feel when you told him this, and how did it, like, what was the?
Yeah, no, so it was a whole process. Literally, I did that in less than 10 weeks, right? And it was my third year project as well, so I was able to kind of dig deeper. But literally, as soon as I got there, I was like, look, I know a lot of people have been exploring the sexy components, but the truth is, look, I've just figured out what a jet engine is. I actually just want to see what hasn't been touched over the last few years. And I realized there was a component in there that hadn't been touched for probably 40 years.
Wow.
And I was like, look, maybe I can investigate this, and then it was also in the pathway of the air. So, and it's Rolls-Royce, a lot of us, because we're watching these rap videos, you think it's cars. Rolls-Royce actually don't do cars.
Okay.
So Rolls-Royce do things in the air, so all the jet engines, the planes that you see to Dubai, they've got the engines in there.
Okay.
They do things kind of in the sea as well. That Rolls-Royce brand, Rolls-Royce Motors is what it's called, they sold that brand to, I think, BMW a lot of years ago. So all they've done is just sell the brand, but they don't actually, the Rolls-Royce is actually like jet engines and stuff.
Okay.
So that's what I was working on. And when I kind of met them, I chose to work on this component, and then I just had a person that I was working with, an amazing guy called Colin, and he was just teaching me the tricks of the trade. And it was an independent project, but he taught me how to use the tools. And then we kind of as soon as we clocked onto it and realized that it was that gain that we could get across the engine, because there was many of these components across the engine, that's what allowed us to get so much kind of opportunity. And then we just said, let's pitch to the different people that are owning the engine projects, because there's many different models of planes. Like what you get to go to Tenerife is not the same plane you get to go to Dubai. And because there's different engines, you have to pitch to the different engine owners. And I did that, it was all successful, and then it was like, cool, now if you're flying to Dubai or any of that on a new plane, my component will probably be in there. So that's pretty cool.
That's you, bro.
That's pretty dope. Yeah,
I still would have told them where's my reparations, but you know, I mean,
we're still in talks. Didn't come and say like, yo,
like, come and work for us, man. Come and
Oh yeah. So I got a return offer. I got everything, but at that point, I think it was like, now I knew. Okay, bear in mind, I just got rejected from something. So that for me, even knowing I can do that was like the sweetest revenge. You know what I mean? Like, you didn't pick me, but come on, like, I've got something here that you didn't see, the grip, all the intangibles you didn't see, but this is what it can lead to, right? So at that point, that's kind of all my head was kind of focused on. And yeah, I think they offered me everything, and I just didn't take it at that point because there's other things, other opportunities.
You knew your worth now. You knew by doing that everyone's gonna come knock on the door. So what happened? Lewis Hamilton said, "Yo, big man, I heard you done this for Rolls Royce. Come and join my team." What happened there?
Yeah. So essentially, Lewis heard about me through a summit called One Young World, which I'm an ambassador of, and then he sent me an email, like a random email.
Would you think this is spam or someone trying to do it?
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought. I thought it was spam. I was like, "There's no way Lewis is emailing me for like anything, right?" So
and it's him himself, not even like this is the PA.
Yeah, it wasn't the PA or nothing. And literally, I looked at the bottom of the email, a signature. It said Lewis Hamilton. I don't know if it said 6-time world champion or 7-time world champion at the time. So literally emailed me to say that. Then I was like, you know what? Yeah. Then I read the attachment, and I saw him say, "George, you know, for all your work with Motives, with young people, doing all of this, we'll love you to join the board of the Hamilton Commission." And I guess we had been doing this work for years at Motive, so it was like, cool, let's make it happen. Crazy, you know what I mean? The recognition was amazing, and it was like, that's why I didn't take up all those other opportunities, because it was some divine opportunities like this that honestly I couldn't have prepared for. All I could do was the work beforehand, you know, like putting in the graft. But yeah, that was an opportunity that he just came to me with, and I was like, this is a no-brainer. So I joined that. There was a few of us on the board, but I was the youngest one there. And then I realized that he was setting up a race team as well at the same time. So it was like, okay, let me see if I can help to get mechanics and engineers for that. And then eventually it was just a case of, you know, us having a lot of different conversations. There was another organization that they were partnered with, and I gave my CV to them, and they said, "You probably have one of the best CVs here out of everyone that you probably recommended." And then it was a series of interviews. Then they invited me to pre-season testing in Spain for the race team that he kind of built called X44, and that was my first time abroad with motorsport, like first time. So it was a big learning, but I saw everything. I saw the car going around, and I was like, this is dreamy. Like, I was just go-karting.
Did you feel that you belonged?
At first, you don't feel like you belong. You know what I mean? Because I don't know I didn't know at that point any other black person in motorsport, any other minority in motorsport. So it was like, you're just figuring it all out.
Did that give you more of, I'm gonna focus extra hard because these people don't probably feel that I belong here. I'm having a bit of imposter syndrome, so I'm gonna work extremely hard and make sure I'm better than everyone else. Yeah.
So the good thing is, because these people that I was working with are like veterans, you know, they've been there. So I was the youngest person on the team. All of them have 10 years of experience or so. So there's no way I'm going to just come in a year, 2 years and be like, I might be the next rising star, but there's no way I'm going to be better than them. So the most important skill you can have is humility. You know what I mean? The most important characteristic, just to know that, okay, I don't know everything, but I'm going to be a sponge. I'm going to take it all in, and then hopefully they're going to judge me by how quick I pick up things, right? So I don't think I tried to overcompensate too much. It was more like, because of all the work that I'd done before as well, like I'd done Motives, I'd been on a board of the Hamilton Commission, we'd impacted thousands of young people to get into STEM. I saved Rolls Royce £50 million, so I'm almost seen as that golden child. You get what I mean? So it's almost like, go and do your thing, as opposed to, oh yeah, you've got a big point to prove. Like, I know what my value is, and I'm just going to do my best. I'm going to be a sponge, and you know what I mean, I'm going to try my best to win races, and that was my focus.
So how does it work then? So this is not Formula 1 then, this is what formula is it?
So the championship is called Extreme E. So within motorsport there's many different championships. You've got Formula 1, Formula 2, Formula 3.
So is that Formula equivalent to Premiership, Championship, League 1, League 2?
Yeah, from the Formula 1, Formula 2, Formula 3 kind of, you know, they're like feeder programs, similar thing to football. And then there's like adjacent ones, so ones that are right beside it, like Formula E. It's not a feeder program per se, but some people, for example, like you've just had a driver come from Formula E, next year he's going to be in Formula One. So, but it's not directly like related, but yeah, it's a similar kind of thing to football. So Extreme E is almost like the sister to Formula E, where so Formula E, you will see it in London, there'll be an Excel, they'll race the car around the Excel Centre. So they do more like city racing. We do more off-road racing,
like deserts,
so the desert. So every single time you see me in the desert, like that's most of my pictures or videos you'll see in the desert. So we go to the most remote locations around the world affected by climate change to raise awareness of essentially what issues are happening in that area. There's no spectators, only people kind of watching online for most of the races, and that's just to reduce the carbon footprint. So all the flights and everything, and all our cars and everything travel by ship from one location to the next. And we've gone from places like Saudi to Greenland to Senegal. I was just in Chile a few weeks ago.
I mean, that must be crazy. I mean, growing up in Peckham, and now you're just across the world globetrotting for Lewis Hamilton's team. Does he ever come out on some of the trips as well? Has he been that yet? Yeah,
so he's a big supporter of everything that we're doing. All the time we're on calls with him, whatnot, when we're at races. So yeah, I think he'll be coming to a race soon as well. But just the schedule. The thing is, he's probably the only team owner that is also still in Formula One.
Okay.
So we've got Rosberg. He got his one championship left. Kept it moving. You got Jenson Button, he had a team. He got his championship as well, stayed in for a bit, left. So he's the only one that is still racing. So if anything, that's why he's the real model in this whole thing, where he's actually doing all this work whilst he's in there. He's not even waiting until he's done. And I think that's probably the best part of it. So we're just keeping that momentum going. So he can't attend every single race, but he's always there supporting us, backing us, reposting everything. So that's been dope.
I mean, so how did it come then? Then you was first nominated. How did you hear you was nominated to become the British Young Engineer of the Year, and then to actually win it as well? Like, talk us through that process.
Yeah, so first of all, I still don't know who nominated me for that award. I still have no clue whatsoever. So when I first heard about it was just kind of, again, through an email, and they kind of say that I won Young Engineer of the Year award, and I also won the Sir George McFarlane medal. So that means
so the email, you already won it. There weren't no nominations, you already won it.
Yeah, so there were nominations, and then after the nominations, then in order to invite me to the ceremony, then they'll tell me, okay, cool, you've now won it. So they've gone through their whole nominations, they've judged everything, and then they're telling me you're Young Engineer of the Year, and you also won the Sir George McFarlane medal.
I just want to know, when you told your mum, was it typical African reaction? Like, what was it?
Oh man, I can't even fully remember. Like, I feel like
she called everyone. Everyone. The whole church turned up. There was a blessing. The pastor came to bless. The people back home, they all heard about it.
I think once she got the news, this is where it was. So the news came out. It went in the newspapers, everything, articles, everything are flying around. And then, so I'm from a place in Nigeria called Benin. Have you heard of Benin City? So I think Dave is from there as well. He speaks about it. And essentially, you've got a guy from there, he's a governor, basically shouted me out. So obviously that's what my mum also sees as well. So and then she sees me on Nigerian TV. Bear in mind, I'm not even on British TV, so I'm like, what's going on? So they're calling me, basically saying, you're on TV, you're on this. So if anything, it's like she found out before I found out. But yeah, she was loving it, sending it over to everyone.
And you know the most beautiful thing about this, right, is that if you look back a few years back, there must have been the same people calling your mum saying, is that your son on the news for your brother?
Exactly.
Right? So there must have been turmoil, people saying, and then you've kind of flipped that script and say, look, this is it.
Yeah, 110%. And I think it's like, is that quote, the stone that the builder rejected has become the cornerstone. That's like in the scripture, right? Like, and that's literally how it feels every single time. Like we felt rejected. We felt like, especially when Kenny was going through everything, it's like no one really wants to check for you like that, right? And I think after that kind of whole process, it was like we just stayed diligent, stayed doing what we were doing, kept our head down, and the fruits came. Stayed faithful, stayed praying, putting in the work, faith, action, and everything just came together. But I definitely think it's all God, man. Like, there's no way I could have done everything. Like, I done my part, but so many people are working hard. My mum worked crazy hours, but she still wasn't able to kind of get everything. So I think for me, it was like, I'm standing on the shoulders of giants, you know, everyone that kind of came before me, all the elders that just wanted me to do a positive thing, my brother, everyone. So for me, it's almost like I divert all the attention to them because it was like, yeah, they're the ones that opened the door for me. They went first and they opened the door and I just ran after. And then now the doors that I'm knocking down is because of the momentum that I was able to get when I, you know, ran through the other ones.
All right, so honestly, that was a fascinating story, and I'm thankful that you came to bless us with it, because I think more of these stories are kind of needed, man. It's like everyone always wants their gang members and their whatnot, but now we need more of these stories. I mean, what can you leave us with? Like, what's next?
Yeah, no, I think so. There's a few things. I think our job, and I think even like your role here, is to normalize success. Is to join groups, different things that normalize it. So people do like everything that I studied, the sciences. People are like, yeah, I can do that. Like, I might not be the best at it right now, but it's about the growth mindset to know you might not be sick now, but give it a few weeks, months, years, and you'll be exactly where you need to be. So I think that's the first thing. The next thing I would say is, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu.
Jeez.
That's what my brother always says, and for me, that's about not letting other people make decisions for you. You know what I mean? Like, you actually need to be the one in the rooms, the one actually making these things happen, because if your voice is not there, then no one's going to advocate for you. You know what I mean? Because there's so many other people trying to fight their corner. So it's on you to basically say, you know what, I need my voice to be there. And some, you know, being from a place like Peckham is an asset. It's not a liability, it's actually an asset. So that's why I've got the hashtag, the kid from Peckham. So it's like, own your story. Don't let anyone, you know what I mean, use that against you, because that is powerful. Like, I use everything that I went through to get into the rooms that I'm going through now, and I wear that proudly. So yeah, there's so much positivity. Right now, you know, we've impacted over 8,000 young people. We want to impact hundreds of thousands. So the rebuild program that we have right now, we want to push that out, get as many people that are not in work to join that program. And yeah, that's what it's all about, man. Just helping as many people, keeping the ladder down. Because someone did it for me, so I want to do it for someone else.
Come on, man. Come on. I'm very blessed to have you here as well, man. But some people are a bit confused. They're going to see me like on this and they'll be like, bro, he's got Heady One on there still.
Yeah, man. Hey, look. I get that every single week, bro. Like, every single week there's someone calling me Heady One. Look, if anything, Heady One, shout me. Just shout me. We can do a little link up, little video.
You know what you do? Like, obviously, you're doing your own thing and you're doing an amazing thing. But next time, just go to go to A Jewel and say, yeah, I'm Heady One. I have to pick up my jewel. They'll give you the jewels.
It might work. It might work. I'm going to consider that.
But now, bro, listen, big up your story from one fellow Peckham man to another. What do we call ourselves from Peckham? Peckhamanians? What do we call ourselves?
I don't know, man.
Pectonians?
Pectonians. I like Pectonians.
We go Pectonians, man. Bro, bless up and may your journey continue, man.
Love, man.
Bro.